Hey guys, MC Stu here. Today I want to talk about free to play mainly, or for those that want to take advantage of this system, a way to get free tier 6 ships, fleet ships, utilizing the reputation system. There's a couple different ways you can go about using these items, and I'm also going to just kind of do a brief kind of overview of what the rep system is, how to progress through that, and some of the benefits to doing so. So let's go ahead and jump right into it here. So if you come up to your character screen or hit U, that'll pop this screen up here, and we're going to click on Reputation. So periodically they will add new ones into the game. So since I've been playing, they added in the Gamma Task Force and the Discovery Legends. In each one of these, there is a progression. So this is my main on my free-to-play, and I've progressed all the way up through the tier 6 level. When you're new starting this, this will take a little bit of time to get through, and essentially what you're going to do is you're going to run, TFOs, the content in the game, and you'll be rewarded different kinds of marks, which are these guys down here. Depending on the kind of TFO, or if you're doing a random, you'll also get that bonus box where you can click on it and pick what kind you want. When you do that, you'll build up these marks for each of these different reputations here. And so you'll come into active projects, and let's see if it'll have any slotted. I'm max, so you're not going to see some of this stuff on the top until you get to tier 6. But what you'll have is something that looks like this right here. And you're going to click on that, and we'll just go ahead and slot one. So it requires, I believe the regular daily is 30 before you get all the way up to tier 6 on these. And then it requires a little bit of experience and a little bit of EC. And this EC you can get from just picking loot up on these TFOs and just selling it to the vendor, or using your replicator to dispose of that and get the EC. And before I just start assuming everybody can do that or knows how to do that, let's just take a look, see if I have anything in here I can sell. Let's see here. Well, let me do a battery. So if on this screen here, there are vendors that'll give you a little bit more. I'll go into that in a different video, but the basics is that you can use your replicator here, and you can recycle items. And when you recycle an item, you get EC for it. So things that are higher mark and higher quality, you're going to get more for. Let's see if I have anything in here I want to part with for this example. Let's just say this here, okay? So if I sell this, I'm going to end up with 4,400 EC. So I'm going to recycle that, and then I would get that money for it. Now, if you sell something you didn't want to, you can go to retrieve, and you can grab that back like that. So when you pick up loot, doing a TFO or in a mission, grab everything you can, because then you can just sell that and you can build up a little bit of EC. You're not going to make, a ton of money off of that or anything like that, but it's going to be enough to be able to progress through some of this basic stuff here while you're building that up. And so once you select the project, you can just say fill all. This has it's a 20. So this is only showing an hour, but that's because I'm at tier 6 and I don't have the daily one. So the daily one will be basically a 20 or 24 hour progress on that. Once it's done, you'll get finished. You'll get the reward of the dilithium and experience points for this particular reputation. So what you'll want to do is, go in, play the game, have fun, and before you log out, go through each one of these and slot that daily mission. And until you're fully leveled up, it'll be the top one on the screen there, and it'll have, I believe it's a 20-hour cooldown to do that. So you want to go ahead and do that every day until you're able to build up all of these reputations. And I'll just kind of briefly go through some of the benefits here. So as you level up through 1 through 6 here, you're going to unlock these reputation traits. And you'll get basically 2 for every one that you go through. Some of these are extremely valuable to use, and I'll just show you here. So if we go over to the traits tab for space, I'm using one here that's giving me an extra 20% critical severity. That's huge. Another that's giving me 5% critical chance. I think I still have my tanking stuff on here. So this one's giving me all damage resistance and maximum hit points based on my auxiliary power. This one is giving me 6.3 bonus damage, which is excellent, and this one is giving me additional critical chance based on the number of hit points I have. And there is a huge selection of these for all the different kinds of builds. There's some that give you bonus damage for targets that are controlled, bridge officer cooldowns, booster torpedoes. I mean, the list goes on. There's just a ton of stuff in here, and as well for ground. Same kind of thing, ground flavor in that. So right off the bat, that's one thing that's just going to unlock as you progress through these tiers of each one of these. You'll start to unlock these different traits. As you also progress through, you will be able to unlock different kinds of gear. So for instance, like one of the first ones I do is I'll do the Task Force Omega. Once you complete tier 1 on that, it'll allow you to unlock a piece of gear, which is the assimilated module, which is this one right here. This is an excellent console. I use it on my paid account, use it on pretty much everything, but it gives you additional critical chance and severity, as well as weapons power settings, controllability, and also damage control. Excellent console. The more you upgrade that, all those stats will go up from there as well. And that's just the beginning. I mean, there is just a ton of stuff that is in here that you can unlock and buy with, dilithium marks and those kinds of things that are just huge. It's in-game stuff. Everybody has access to it. It's just a matter of playing the game, collecting your marks, and on a daily basis or whenever you log in and running, your daily little mission in here, so that you can progress through this system. So definitely be doing that. The last thing, once you get to tier 6, and tier 6 was added not that long ago at all. And so once you get to tier 6 on one of these particular reputations, on every other character you do subsequent, you will actually progress through this system faster. So you get a little bit of an account unlock boost for progressing through the system faster. It also unlocks some nice items like retrain tokens. If you plan on doing a few different kinds of characters, and there is a particular reputation system here that you're going to use on a bunch of those, you can actually pay to unlock basically an account-wide discount. And it reduces the cost of, dilithium and marks for all other tunes and the current tune that you're unlocking it on across the whole account. So it's kind of nice if you're going to maybe, end up doing multiple characters to do different things, but you're seeing gear in some of these where you're like, I'm going to use that on pretty much all my characters. Like competitive, I use the competitive engine on pretty much all of my characters, and so might be worth it. The Discovery one is definitely worth it. There is just a ton of good gear in here between the ground gear that's available and then also the space gear. I'll use bits of this for tanking. I'll use, bits of this for DPS, torpedo builds. I mean, it's just great across the board. So that's one I definitely would recommend unlocking. I don't want to go through every little piece of gear in here. I mean, because there's a lot in there, and it's gonna vary depending on what you're trying to build and what you're trying to do. So, when you're looking into what you want, that's going to be specific for your build there. I just want to kind of highlight what this system is, how to progress through it. And then the reason I'm sure most of you guys clicked in here with the title, it was not clickbait. Something they added with the tier 6 level of this is fleet modules. So if you're unaware, you can go to the vendor, and we'll jump over there in just a moment, and you can use fleet modules to buy fleet ships. This is something you're going to want to be a little bit careful, because if you want to buy a tier 6 fleet ship, it's going to cost you 5 fleet modules, which means, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You could get 2 of them, and you'd be left over with 2 extra. And the reason I say you want to be careful with that is you don't want to max all these out and just blow through them, because if you do decide to spend money on the game and buy a tier 6 ship from the Cstore, most tier 6 ships are going to have a fleet version of it, and the fleet version of it is better in terms of the ship itself stats. It's going to have, in most cases, a extra console slot, and it's also going to have higher hit points than what you're going to have on the Cstore version of it. The reason, and someone might say, well, why would you ever buy the Cstore? Why wouldn't you only do the fleet ships? Well, the fleet ships don't come with a trait. So that's the trade-off. So if you go over to the vendor and you buy, you know, a Gagarin, let's say, the fleet version of it, and you spend 5 of these, you're going to get an excellent ship, better than the one you'd get from the Cstore, but it wouldn't have the trait. And so what they've built into the game is that if you purchase a ship that has a fleet variant, so you buy a ship from the Cstore and you want the fleet variant, because you have purchased that ship, you can get the fleet version of it for just 1 of these fleet modules. And that's why I'm saying you want to be a little careful and don't just go crazy once you unlock this and pick up, you know, your 2 favorite ships, because you're only going to have 2 left over. And if you do decide to spend money on a ship, or at the end of this event this year, you go with the 2 tier 6 coupons, you'll have just enough for those. But if you do decide to buy anything past that, or future events where you could get access to tier 6 ships from the Cstore, you're going to have to purchase either off the exchange or from the Cstore fleet ship modules. So it's something to consider there. But with that being said, on this particular character, I did decide to go ahead and use 5 of these to pick up this ship. I do not own the Cstore version of it. I wasn't really interested in the trait, but the ship itself was excellent for the things I was wanting to do. Cannon build, it also makes a great tank, and it's a flight deck cruiser, so you can do some carrier kind of stuff. I think this is probably one of the best underrated ships in the game, personally. Again, that's a personal preference. I'm not advocating, you know, use your stuff for this. This is just what I liked. But that's what I did here. So I have the fleet version of it. This is not reclaimable across the account, so none of my other characters have this. If I had bought this ship in the Cstore, I could go over to the vendor and get the fleet version with 1 fleet module, and I could go to other characters and claim the Cstore version of it and purchase it with just 1 of the fleet modules. So why don't we go ahead and jump over to the vendor just so we can take a look at that and see what it looks like. Okay, I've just beamed onto Deep Space Nine. This is actually a Jem'Hadar character, so this is home base. The fleet, or the vendors for the ships are going to be here, where you can select your ships over at this console. You can customize them here, repair damage, get basic ship gear. It's not really worth much. That is a place you could sell some of that loot you pick up. You could sell it to this guy here. But if we come over here to the ship vendor, let's go ahead and take a look in here. All right, so if we go ahead and jump down to, we don't want categories, we want ranks. Here we go. Okay, so let's look at our fleet, tier 6. Now there is also just basic fleet ones. They're a little bit cheaper. So these are essentially tier 5s. I believe these can be upgraded, but upgrades are pretty expensive on the exchange, or you can buy them for real money. But you could pick up a tier 5 in here with 4. I would heavily recommend not doing that and going for the tier 6 and spending the 5 if you're going to go that route. So let's take a look at those here. So now that the faction wall is down with ships, you can basically get anything in here. If you have 5 fleet modules, and you do need to have access from your fleet. So this is tied to your fleet itself. And let's just look at that real quick. If you click on the fleet tab, if you're not in a fleet, I'm in a couple that are good. If you jump in the Discord, there's some referrals in there that you could get in and be a part of. Many fleets are going to require you to donate so much to it to start with before they'll start giving you access to some of these things. So we should probably just talk about that real quick. So when you play the game and you get boxes and you select, maybe you don't pick a reputation mark, you pick fleet marks here, right? Fleet credits, they can be changed into. So you start off by picking up fleet marks. And what you do is once you have those, you go into your fleet tab here and you can go to holdings. And then what you'll do is you'll look through these and you're looking for one that has availability to donate. So when you donate to this, you're going to get in return fleet credits. And if you go over and so you've been doing that, you can donate other things here too. So dilithium, duty officers, different commendations, those kinds of things. And if you jump over to roster and you click this drop down here, you can say overall contributions. And I actually just switched over to this fleet. So mine are 0 right now. So for instance, like priority 1, it's 100,000. You could do that very quickly as long as there's stuff to donate to. So fleet marks for most of the projects, you're going to get, I believe it's times, what is it? I think it's times 5 or 10. I'll have to look that up. Don't quote me on that. We'll need to check that. But you can do this within a week and get access even, even if it's at 100, fleet marks are, contributions that you need to give. So it gives it to you in what the credits you've earned, but this is basically anything you donate, it's going to show you in credits. And again, the example for Priority 1, which I think is a good fleet for new players just, wanting to get into the game. There's other fleets that are better for, more competitive high-end play. They run the damage buffs and things like that help, the whole fleet and that kind of thing. But 100,000 credits will give you access to be able to purchase these things through your fleet. So that is something that you need to look at, is getting into a fleet. Most fleets are recruiting. You can Google different ones that are. Ask for an invite in global chat, and just take a look at the fleet, see what it takes to get to a level where they'll unlock that. Like I said, most of them are pretty damn easy to make that happen. So once you've done that, you'll use these fleet modules here, and you can purchase these ships. So let me see if I have one that's unclaimed. But I mean, let's just say I own this ship, the Cstore version. This number here is going to be 1 instead of 5. So again, right off the bat, I don't have fleet modules claimed. I think I only have a few left because I've been using them as I was able to get Cstore tier 6 ships from the events from last year. So I do have a couple left, but not enough to buy, a full one here. So it is a finite resource that the game's giving you for free for grinding through that reputation system. So do kind of make sure that you're using that wisely, and you'll be able to do that on all your different characters. So every character that you get, you're going to have to go through that system again to level it up. Again, once you have one character that's at the tier 6 level, your other characters will be able to progress through that faster. So I think that takes care of it. I'll call this beginner, but this is probably beginner going into more advanced. I was talking with somebody in the comments, and it seemed he was a little bit frustrated because he was saying, well, I mean, what do you consider beginner? And that's a good question, because the game has so many layers. There's so many systems that overlap and interact with each other that beginner's kind of a subjective point of view that different people can have. I'm going to have to come up with, I think, a better system. Beginner and advanced just isn't enough to describe the different states that each of us can potentially be at in this game. And so I think we need to come up with a little bit better system for that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start putting out some just extremely basic stuff, things that might seem stupid to a lot of people, but had I had that available to me 3 years ago, it's definitely not stupid. I mean, the game does not give you all that information. Some very basic things that we take for granted are not things that it goes into any kind of detail about in the tutorial. So why don't, for now, we'll call this more of advanced kind of content, because advanced not so much in the way that you're way far into the game and your performance output, but you've been in the game enough to where you know where these systems are, you kind of have an idea of what they are, or that they exist. Someone that's played this game on day 2 is going to have no idea there's a reputation system, because there's nothing really in the game that tells you about it, even once you unlock it. So in some instances, it just kind of points it out, hey, this button's here, but there's nothing else involved there. So in any case, I just want to make a clarification on that. And I can't remember the guy's name or girl's name off the top of my head, but I do appreciate his comment, even though it was a lot of caps lock and I think he was yelling a little bit, but it seemed like he was frustrated, and I get it. I do get it. And that kind of feedback's good. That helps me be able to put together, better content that can help, especially newer, brand new players that are coming in. So I think that covers it all. If you guys have any questions, throw them down in the comments there. If you have any questions about getting into a fleet, that's probably something we should probably touch on as well. Because technically I kind of jumped ahead. You need to be in a fleet, and a fleet that has a high enough level in order to get these tier 6 ships through the reputation system here with the fleet modules. But it's not hard to do. It's easy to do. So if you have questions on that or want a referral to a fleet, I'm more than happy to give those out to you. So again, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great one and stay safe.